So apparently, there's a good reason for why we didn't see any Resident Evil 4 remake stuff. Of course, y'all know I was hoping for Code Veronica remake, swing and a miss, can't hit them all. But Resident Evil 4 remake's happening apparently, and apparently the reason we didn't get it. And real quick, shout out to Big Mike for hitting me in my DMs with this article. I appreciate you, man. I've been cleaning all day. I didn't see this, so thank you for sending me this. Apparently, Capcom is taking some of the development away from M2, which, in my opinion, after Resident Evil 3 remake, I'm cool with it because Resident Evil 3 remake was a good game, but you all know how I feel on it. We've talked about that. But anyway, let's get into the article here real quick. So apparently, I'm over here on videogameschronicle.com. That's the link I was sent, and it goes into quite a bit. Capcom has overhauled its plans for Resident Evil 4 remake. Capcom Division 1 brought in as newcomer M2 sees role reduced, sources indicate. See, that's big because M2 is who developed Resident Evil 3 remake, and apparently they're not happy with how this went down. Let's read the article real quick, and then I'll get into my thoughts on it a little bit. Capcom's in-development Resident Evil 4 remake has seen a major change of leadership due to disagreements over its direction, according to people with knowledge of the project. New studio M2 has seen its role significantly reduced on the unannounced project. The sources told VGC and mainline Resident Evil studio Capcom Division 1, who made the phenomenal Resident Evil 2 remake. That game was phenomenal. Has been brought in to lead a new direction. New direction. We might not be getting this game for a while. As first reported by VGC last year, the Resident Evil 4 remake has been in development since 2018, led by Osaka-based M2, the studio founded by former Platinum Games head Tatsuya Minami. Little has been shared publicly about M2, but people with knowledge of the company said it was partly funded by Capcom and comprised of some former Platinum Games employees, including developers from the Metal Gear Rising and Bayonetta 2 teams. Our original report on M2 and Minami's involvement, published in December 2019, was later confirmed by the credits of Resident Evil 3. The company contributed to the development of 2020's RE3 remake, with Minami taking on an executive producer role, but the startup's main purpose was always to lead the next bigger remake, Resident Evil 4. Okay. Now, I guess this is all just kind of like per sources or whatever. However, multiple sources have indicated that following a key project review late last year, it was decided that M2's role on RE4's remake would be significantly reduced. Capcom's Division 1, the internal team responsible for Resident Evil and Devil May Cry games, has now been brought in to lead the RE4 project, VGC understands. Okay, this is a lot of he said, she said, it sounds like, but we'll keep reading because it's interesting. It's very interesting. It's believed that the disagreements that led to M2's reduced role involved the studio's desire to stick faithfully to the template of the original Resident Evil 4, partly influenced by backlash to Resident Evil 3's remake, which did not include significant portions of the original PlayStation game, much to fans' disappointment. Absolutely right. That game was too short. Yes, the original Resident Evil 3, you can blow through it pretty quick. As, you know, most of the Resident Evil 2 and 3, you can blow through them pretty quick, but there was just so much more they could have done with that, especially being next gen. I hate when people say, well, Resident Evil 3, it's about as long as you can go through that. This is like the remake. You're supposed to make it bigger and better, you know? Just give me more. Anyway, Resident Evil 3 was disappointing. It was not a bad game, but it was very disappointing. I'll continue here real quick. Capcom's production team, however, is said to prefer a direction which would see RE4's remake inspired by the original, but with its own unique take on features, story elements, and environments, not necessarily confined to the blueprints of the original, similar to Resident Evil 2's use of Mr. X. Yes. Absolutely. Sources said that the Resident Evil 4 remake would now be partially rebooted under the new mandate, which could see its release date delayed by as much as a year to 2023. So, okay, if they originally were eyeing 2022 for the release date, which, let's be honest, what they've been doing is the first quarter of the year. So, Resident Evil 3 Remake, I think, was April, right? And the Resident Evil 2 Remake came out in January of the year it came out. I think it was 2018 or something like that. But, so this was probably slated for first quarter of 2022. Now they're going to have to push it back a year. Thus why we didn't see it in the Resident Evil showcase. I'm sure they would have shown it. I am almost 100% positive that they would have shown it. Almost completely positive they were going to show that. I really feel like that was going to happen. This kind of direction change is not uncommon within Capcom, the people said, and both Resident Evil 2 and 3 are said to have experienced similar overhauls during their development. Capcom declined to comment when contacted ahead of the story's publication. 2005's Resident Evil 4 is Capcom's highest rated game of all time, according to review aggregation site Metacritic, with sales totaling 10.4 million copies across various platforms. The horror installment is regarded as one of the most influential games of the 2000s, with its off-the-shoulder viewpoint particularly widely adopted by many third-person shooters that followed. In the 15 years since its release, Resident Evil 4 has been ported and remastered many times, but never fully remade. 2020's Resident Evil 3 features a number of potential nods to RE4's remake, including the introduction of parasite zombies, which appear in Resident Evil 4's Pelagus, and at least one sequence similar to the QuickTime events which featured heavily in the fourth game. With Capcom Division 1's involvement, likely that many original Resident Evil 4 team members will be involved in the remake. Producer Hiroyuki Kobayashi is still at Capcom and worked on Resident Evil 6, while Resident Evil 4 designer Koji Kakai, I'm probably butchering his name, Koji Kakai, recently worked on Devil May Cry 5. Resident Evil 4's original lead coder. Okay, so this is getting into a lot of other stuff. Alright, so basically what this comes down to is Capcom was not happy with what M2 was doing for Resident Evil 4, and Capcom knows, they know RE4, they screw this remake up, you might as well garbage any other remakes you want to do. You might as well throw them in the trash can if you screw up Resident Evil 4 remake, because this game, let me tell y'all something. I'll tell y'all a little story real quick. I remember when this game came out for the GameCube. I had a little studio apartment. I spent that whole, I want to say it was fall. I think this came out in the fall. I spent the whole, or winter. It was either fall or winter. I spent that whole fall or winter just playing this game over and over again on the GameCube. And there's no trophies. There's no reason to 100% complete it. There's no, back then on the GameCube, I played it over and over again because it was that good. And it was Leon, because at the time Resident Evil 2 was my favorite Resident Evil, right? I loved the GameCube RE remake, but I didn't have a greater appreciation for that remake until years later when I went back and revisited. Now Resident Evil 1 Remake is my favorite Resident Evil game. But RE4 is so good, and it moves you along. I said this in a video, Resident Evil video we did last week. This is a big undertaking because it's not like okay, you're mapping Raccoon City, you're developing the Raccoon City for the game, the remake, and then boom, you're done. Just put everything in there. No, this game has various locations. It moves along at a brisk pace. And there's a little bit of backtracking, but for the most part, you're in the village, you go to the farm, you go to the tower, the castle, then you go to these other places, and then you get off the island at the end, the island that you go to. There are a lot of locations in this game, and there's a lot of work to be done. If you're going to faithfully remake Resident Evil 4, and you're going to put everything in there, and you're going to add stuff to it, you got a big job ahead of you. I don't think people appreciate that I've been calling for Resident Evil 4 Remake how much work will need to go into this game. A ton of work, because it's not, Resident Evil 4 looked great, but there were a lot of flat backgrounds and textures and stuff like that because it was a GameCube game. It came out in 2005. They've been developing it. Resident Evil 4 was in development for at least 5 or 6 years, right? Because originally it was Leon in a castle with these ghost things that were chasing him and stuff, and then they scrapped that, and then they made this, right? Because the original Resident Evil 4 being developed, they had the tank controls. There is a lot to put into a remake of this game. I'm fine waiting for it. We got plenty of stuff to look forward to, but the fact that they pulled M2 off of this, and I remember thinking when I was playing Resident Evil 3 Remake, I was like, man, I really hope this isn't the team they want to put in charge of a Code Veronica or a Resident Evil 4 Remake, whichever one we get next. I hope this isn't the team, because it looked good. I mean, it looked good. It did. It looked good, but it was so short, and there were so many missed opportunities, especially with like Nemesis fights, all the different crazy scares you could have had with Nemesis, all the horror you could have had, not spamming Nemesis the whole game and making him not scary, but at least a couple more scenes with him, right? And it just missed the mark. They dropped the ball with it, and I've been saying that for a while, and a lot of you all fight me on it, but I'm going to stick to my guns. Resident Evil 2 Remake is awesome. It's incredible. I'm thinking about playing that tonight, as a matter of fact. But Resident Evil 3 Remake, I played through it once, and I was done with it. I had no desire to go back and play it again, which sucks because, you know, I was really excited when they announced it. It looked good. I wasn't crazy about the redesign of Jill, right? Because Jill Valentine is my favorite Resident Evil character. The Julia Voth, is that her name? Julia Voth? It's something Voth. The model they used from the GameCube remake version and on into Revelations and even Resident Evil 5, and that look for her was my Jill Valentine. That was my preferred Jill Valentine. I thought that was a really good look, and they went away from that, but yeah, I don't think this is a bad deal. Now, it doesn't say they took them off of it. It doesn't say M2 is off of the project, right? It just says their role has been reduced. They're bringing it into Division Team 1. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait to hear more and see more about it. But look, we still got Resident Evil 8 Village coming. Resident Evil Village is going to be here in a few months. I'm wanting to go and try to finish Resident Evil 7. That first person, you all know, it just makes me sick. I get motion sick trying to play it. But I want to get through it. I want to get through that. And I've got my pre-order in for Resident Evil Village Special Edition, getting the Chris statue, all that kind of good stuff. Yeah. I finally got. I didn't get the Nemesis. I didn't get Resident Evil 3 Remakes Collector's Edition, but I did get this one. And of course, y'all see Leon over here, off in the corner back here. What do you all think about this? I mean, are you happy M2's not on it? Do you mind waiting another year? Because they're projecting it to be 2023. I think, you know, they say they've been developing it since 2018. I feel like unless development is just going really fast these days, I'm not a game developer. I have no idea, but I'm assuming they're going to use the RE engine, of course, because it's a beautiful engine. RE engine, Resident Evil 4, Capcom development team, Division 1. That should have been who was working on Resident Evil 4 from the start. I'm not going to lie. What the hell? I mean, I know Division, like, I don't know anything about the internal politics of Capcom. I don't know who's working on what. Some people do. Some people say that they do. I don't know that they really know, but there's no way to know that they don't know, getting all that. I don't know who's working on what at Capcom. I would think, though, if you were doing Resident Evil 4 Remake, you are putting your best team on it. You're putting the Resident Evil Devil May Cry team on Resident Evil 4 Remake. I'm not taking any chances with it. That is the gem in the Capcom crown. Sorry. It's not even my favorite Resident Evil, but looking at a number standpoint, the money, everything, it is their top selling, their best game. It is their best game. Their best reviewed game of all time. You're printing money with this game. I'm not putting that in anybody's hands but my best team. And the fact that they gave it to, like, their third string, right? Their third string team or whatever that just started up a few years ago. I question that decision. I really do. I question the wisdom of that decision. I don't know what went into it. We never will. We'll never know what really went into that decision. But anyway, it looks like they're trying to right the ship now. I'm looking forward to seeing more on this. It's going to look great. It's going to look amazing. So, but what do you all think? Let me know in the comments below what you all think about this moving forward. I am looking forward to it. And as always, y'all have a great night. Keep rocking. More coming from me very soon. Y'all have a good night. Be good to each other. Stay safe out there. And I'll see you next time.